Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Yes, it's just been announced that Caleb Okoli has just joined Leicester City for 15 million euros. Sam, obviously we kind of announced this, or we kind of rumoured this earlier last week, but now it's official. He has signed for Leicester City. What is your take on this? Again, young defender for quite a high price, but again for that sort of age, normally is quite a decent price for that guy. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's business. You know, it's good to see they're actually doing something. Whether we've had a discussion about who is signing these players officially, because we saw Vestergaard re-sign a contract and we had no manager. So whether this was Cooper buy or the board buying him, we'll only know. 5-year deal. From what they've said, I think that's a long deal, Reedy. £15 million. Again, me and Phil were saying I'd be interested to see these players' wages when they get officially released, considering that it's going to be a tough season in the Premier League and we are maybe bookies' favourites to go back down. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of business they think is classed as good business, whether he, whether you just, so we have got to have faith this season. Hopefully the board knows what they're doing. They have brought in a lot of golden players, Perez, Vardy over the years, and obviously a lot of not golden players really.
Well, John has to say you've got golding, not golden, but you've got golding, so that might help. But yeah, like I said, we've now signed our third player this window, looking to be our fourth as soon as Fatu gets announced. Like I said, out of them all, we knew Fatu would be the one to be signing because of his obligation to buy last season. Now he's the only one not to actually be announced yet, but 3 signings through the door. I think only one out the door at the moment in Dewsbury Hall. What's your kind of take now on this? Because again, we've been asking for signings left, right and centre, but we've now got 3 of them in the door. Do you see many more coming in other than Fatu? Like, people are saying we still need the striker position getting bolstered. You've got a midfielder as well. And what are you looking for?
I think it's tough when you outline the season that we're going to have. Cooper, I think, is going to do a massive curveball into the system of how we have been playing. Thank God, we're going to play some exciting football. Hopefully, for as much people might not rate Cooper, you're not going to see as much. I'd probably say structured football. I think you're going to see a manager who thinks on his feet and is going to be like, right, we're playing this team today, right, we're 2-0 down, let's change things around. So I don't know what kind of players we needed to position. Signing this Okoli, Caleb, signing this Caleb, which I don't know his first name. It does show really, I think, that we are going to play in some kind of back 3 with wing back system. Again, which is a traditional Cooper, defensive to counter-attacking style, which I think suits Leicester very well. With the players we've got in as well, I would like to see some players coming maybe in the attacking midfielder, but we've discussed before, and I'm sure a lot of the other fans have discussed as well, with the likes of Samari, Christensen coming back into the team out on loan. Can Cooper get something out of these players? Because let's be honest, they're not going to get sold because they're on way too much money. They might go out on loan, but if they're going out on loan, keep them in the club and play them rather than having to sign a new player. I completely agree. I won't say a big fan of Samari, but I've always said that in the Rodgers system, he was always forced to play a more defensive role, in my eyes anyway, and that's why he couldn't really show his, in my opinion, box-to-box style football by going up and down the pitch, where he's been stuck in that defensive role where he has to stay. This season coming up, Samari could be a great addition to that role where someone like Pratt would have been, or someone like say an Ndidi, maybe not as a defensive, but when he was playing last season in that attacking role, maybe he could be a bit more of a benefit there. Like people are saying, Jono says we need another midfielder. Again, Samari there. Do we need another one? Well, I think one of Harry's comments a little bit further down. Keep going. Is it Harry? Let me have a look.
This one?
I'm trying to see. Yes, that's the one. Sorry, not Harry. LCFC number 4. How's Matt Rowling come out? Well, those are the 2 players that have been, again, rumours start from somewhere. They've been, I think it was John Percy, who, very reliable source about Leicester City information, did a post on talks with with Callum O'Hare. Sorry, I'm losing the names. And usually when you've been linked to some attacking midfielders, Reedy, it does show that we are still looking for that attacking midfielder role. One front that's probably been the quietest is the striker front, and does that mean Cooper's going to... I mean, like I said, what day is it? Tuesday. So yesterday was the first ever training session, so I'm sure within the next 3 weeks there'll probably be... Cooper probably going to be looking at a team and be like, well, I think I am going to need a new striker. He's probably assessing... Because there is a lot of players and there's a lot of talent in that team. But there's also a lot of players that have maybe been rushed by, so they're like, right, someone like Samari, he might look and say, I don't know where Samari fits into this team. I would highly recommend, he's saying to the board, that you sell him to bring in some money. I mean, I'm sure they have tried to sell him, but stuff like that. We've made some signings I think we knew we needed, and I think going into the first few weeks of pre-season training and then pre-season fixtures, you'll start to see the gaps in the midfield, maybe in the strikers. But again, we could be eating our own words, and like you said, Samari might fit really well into Cooper's system, Daka might fit really well into Cooper's system, so we've spent a lot of money on those types of players, and
what's the point in getting rid of them when you've got them already in the club for next year or two anyway? We'll move back into this Caleb Okoli guy then. Clippo says good signing, fits the old City model. I'm in favour. Again, for me, the most kind of comparison I can give is probably like a Fofana kind of style player. He's quite big. He knows what he's doing. He's young and he's got some pace to him. He seems quite a similar sort of character.
Am I right in saying we've just signed Norwich set piece coach, who has scored them last season 18 goals from dead balls? And we've just signed a 6'3" centre back, and we've got Harry Suter, who's also around the same height. For me, this screams like we're going to be practicing and doing dead ball situations, which is something we've been. It
might need it because again, the year we went down, we were conceding set pieces left, right, centre.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, you know, playing the counter-striking football, winning a corner, and then having a tall centre half, you know, pound his head on it.
Yeah, LCFC Gray says Harry Suter might play. I would probably say he wouldn't, but then that's just me. We were saying that there was about getting a new striker as well. People saying that Cannon will be loaned for another year until Vardy retires. Again, he's been linked to Stoke as well.
Yeah, from what we saw, obviously a brief cameo from Tom Cannon last season. I'd probably say he made, I assume, less than 10.
He didn't even. I don't think he made 5 appearances.
Yeah, I know that he had his injury. We signed him when he was injured. You know, again, great business by the club to sign an injured player. But Tom Cannon, I wasn't overly impressed by him Championship season. He didn't do anything, but he only had 5 games, so it's hard to judge. Again, we've got Daka, we've got Jamie Vardy, who I think people will be pleasantly surprised with how he does next season.
Who?
Jamie Vardy.
I was going to say Daka. I was going to say.
I think you'll be. I think he could quite easily get into double figures next season.
I think he could get into the 20 marks, mate. Honestly, obviously, if we're getting relegation, if we're in a relegation fight, then obviously probably not. But out of all the strikers in the league, I'd still suggest that Vardy is probably top 10 to 20 strikers in the league compared to like team-wise. Like I'd say we've got a better striker than West Ham have. We've got a better striker than Everton have.
He's certainly been there, done that. Obviously, age is a contributing factor, and we know that he's now more into playing football rather than training because it's obviously it takes a toll. I mean, a great example would be Ronaldo.
His training is the games
against France. You know, I'm just pulling out a game there. He was getting run around by the French defence because he's what 40 odd now.
Yeah.
So it does take a toll on these older players. So I mean, really, a question comes to you. Obviously, you have been somewhat a fan of Daka, I think, to say the least. I'm not going to overegg it, but you definitely are probably his number one. You probably got a tattoo across your chest that says Patson Daka's number one fan. But can he do it behind Jamie Vardy, or do you think we do need a new striker?
I'll be totally honest, I didn't think last season Vardy would be the man to take us back up. After watching all the other strikers we had in that system play, Vardy was clearly the best one for it, even though I didn't think it still suited the style of Enzo. Going into Cooper's style though, I think maybe Daka and Vardy will both suit the style. Again, if the strikers up top get that service, whoever it is, they will score. And like we saw last season, majority of the goals, other than right at the end of the season, most of the goals came from the wingers or midfield, really, because they were always
I think that
cutting back instead of crossing the balls in.
That was a style choice from
yes.
it, though. I think.
But it still was the case. The strikers weren't getting the service because they were playing around the striker. Whereas now we got to focus on the striker position.
Play to player's strengths.
Yes.
Vardy's strength is that one-on-one for keeper, and if he can still run around them, age is just a number at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we are getting a little bit sidetracked. We have done a video on this Okoli.
Yes.
Okoli
As
before.
Gray here says, Okoli is bigger than Fofana again. Like you said, mentioning about the set piece coach that's come in, which is a good sign as well. People saying as well, I think Locke said it yesterday, that is this Okoli signing maybe an Enzo signing from previous?
No, it's way too further on. I think
he's obviously Italian. He's young.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's got nothing to do with it. I don't think Enzo did make any signings before he left. I think
Vestergaard was the one.
No, I don't think he's an Enzo signing because, again, in the modern football, the club are signing players, not managers. Again, like we said, I think Phil mentioned it on his show, and Jamie P might have mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
That these players, they have head coaches and we have managers, and usually when they're called a head coach, it means that they are just coaching the team. They don't actually pick who comes in and comes out. Like we know Rodgers did towards the end of his stint, he had a very heavy say on what came into the club and what went out of the club, and it didn't work amazingly. So maybe the club just takes it in its own mind and says, listen, these are the players we want, and this is who we're going to give you for the season. And I'm sure Cooper will be saying, well, I think we need this player, that player.
Gray says here, I think Cooper is preparing us to be a brick wall.
I think we have to be. Again, it's going to be one of those seasons where it's going to be 20% possession and a lot of counter-attacking football. And like we'll see Chelsea next season under Maresca, they'll have 80% possession but not many shots.
Mm-hmm.
And does it work? Yeah, it works for teams that have the power and have the confidence and have the good quality players like Man City do, where they don't need to take many chances. They've got Erling Haaland, who, if you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. He's one of those players. Whereas we had injury Jamie Vardy, Patson Daka, who, he had an okay season last season. I'm not going to completely dig into him, but
yeah,
it just didn't suit our system personally to the players we had. I am looking forward more to that style of football where a manager can get the best out of the players and not have a philosophy that only suits himself.
Yeah, just before we go, I'll ask everyone in the comments to put a thumbs up or thumbs down to what you think to this new signing, as I'll speak to Sam about just the little things he said through his interview. He said that it is a step up for him from being at Atalanta, obviously going on loan to Frosinone. Now he said it's a step up. He said that the best league in the world is the Premier League, so he can't wait to get going. And yeah, he obviously spoke to the manager today, and he spoke about what he wants him for, what he wants from him. So there's a lot to look forward to. Again, he is young. He is 6'3". I think you prefer to go for someone like that over an older player, like maybe like Cody at this point. You'd probably want to be a bit more of a faster centre back with a bit of height.
It all depends on how we play. Again, it's going to be completely new.
Yes.
I say one thing is we've got a lot of versatile players. Mm-hmm. I guess is what you'd say with having this kind of tall, fast centre. Again, I think if I had to say one player who reminds me of, obviously to different scales of quality, is Rudiger for Real Madrid.
He's
very tall. He's very pacey. He's got a good header on him, and he's really good at defending. I don't know how good this Okoli guy is, but again, he gives similar style of football to Rudiger at Real Madrid. You've got, like I said, Thies, who's quite a shorter defender, but he's fast, he's nippy, he's good at blocking. And you've got Vestergaard, who you probably say his best quality is calmness on the ball. Obviously, pace is the last thing you want Vestergaard to be in a situation with. But he knows how to control the ball and keep calm with it.
I think this is another reason why we probably sign this sort of guy, because he is faster on the ball.
It's three completely different.
You need this difference, because if you started with Cody, Vestergaard, and for instance Suter, that back line is going to be as slow as anything. Whereas now you've got someone like Faze on one side, you've got Okoli on the other, and then with Vespa in the middle.
I think it'd be good.
The pace difference is there to cover each other's back.
I think it's just good to have that, mix and that pot of players that can do different things. Like you said, if we're playing Spurs first game and Heung-min Song is running down the right hand side, and it's like, well, we need someone just as fast as him to keep up with him, then okay, put Okoli on the right side and move Fives to the left.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm sure you'll see a lot of changes, and I'm looking forward to that. That was one thing, Reedy, I think even you can agree, under Maresca last season's when we're 2-0 down, 1-0 down, and it's just continuous, same style, nothing changing. It gets boring, repetitive, and it's almost like, what's the point in watching? Because you could say the same for England, really. The way they've been playing. It's just sometimes if stuff doesn't change and you're losing, then something else has got to change.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I must admit, while we put all these thumbs up, because I think there's not one thumbs down for this guy. In my opinion, I'm very happy with this signing. I think this could be another one where, like with Fofana, like if he does well for the next couple of years, he could go for quite a lot of money.
Like David has said up there, just 2 comments up from that one. He says all signings have been good. Really, I think I tend to agree. I think my biggest thing that I always like to say going into a transfer window is that sign players that are in and around the leagues that like we said, we've signed Bobby Reed from Fulham.
He's been in the league for ages.
Been in the league, been there, done that. He's done.
He's got do all over the pitch as well.
Michael Golding again. I like the fact that he's a young prospect who's been at Chelsea, so he's had a lot of good coaching. Obviously, I think they've got an academy of 600-700 youth players. Obviously in all the years that they've got. So he's one that's probably been trained very well, and I look forward to seeing those kind of players. And this Okoli guy, I don't mind the fact that we've made one signing like that. I prefer to stay in the leagues that we know, because like I said, he played almost every game for Firenze. Am I saying that right? The team he's obviously
Frosinone.
Yeah, that one. I'm not going to try and say it. That obviously on loan from Atalanta, and obviously to play every game is good. They did get relegated though.
Yeah.
Not saying it's all down to him, but sometimes you look at the facts, and that is just a fact.
Yeah.
So
right,
we know the facts that Golding, youth academy in the English system, Bobby Reed, 4, 5, 6 years at Fulham in the Premier League. I like where it's going. Hopefully this player could prove wrong, because like you said, we've seen it with Mahrez, Fofana, Kante. They don't have to be in the English league to be some of the best players we've ever seen. Yeah,
I completely agree. Any more last comments before we do go? I think someone mentioned here as well. Locks here says, new starting centre back, lovely stuff. Yes, I think it was Enzo who held the initial interest. Italian and also Sul we're looking at.
I think that's probably just a coincidence. Obviously, Enzo's. They've got to be from
maybe
somewhere.
So. Yeah,
they've got to be
so.
from somewhere. Maybe he was looking at it before. Maybe the club continued picking on. But I think the fact that he's the third signing into a decent list of signings that we want to make and have made, I think it might be a little bit coincidental.
Last question for you then, Sam, before we do end.
Yeah.
How many signings now after obviously after the Fatu signing, because we know that's going to happen at some point. That's 4 signings. How many more do you think will be needed? / how many positions do you think we need to fill before you're happy with this summer? Realistically,
for me, I think maybe we need to make 2 to 3 more signings and maybe sell 1 or 2 of the deadwood players. I could see someone like Suter leaving, because we've obviously got a lot of centre.
There's a lot of deadwood in there still, isn't there? You've got Danny Ward, you've got Iverson, which again he was on loan at
the issue is, realistically, I'd want maybe 5 of those players to go, but I think personally I'd want 5 of them to go, but realistically on the wages, and Diddy is another one really great example. Where's he going? Nowhere, because nobody wants to pay him. So Leicester are probably going to stupidly offer him the money that his agent's asking for to keep him around. Everton, Marseille, Monaco, they've all said they're asking for way too much money, and it's just, what do you do in that situation? I think, for me personally, I'd let Diddy go. I wouldn't offer him a 3-year contract. I'd be interested to see how much we've offered Vestergaard on that 3-year deal, because I think the club could be stupidly offering these kind of money. Like we said, it's the Leicester way to overpay its players, and listen, if it means bringing them into the club and staying up, we're not going to complain. But if it means we end up getting relegated on these high wages again, the EFL, the Championship, they're going to be on us like hound dogs. And after last season's shenanigans, we will be getting some sort of points deduction. Or maybe, just I'm sure they'll definitely be looking at any way to punish us. Whether we have breached anything, who knows? But
you'd say 2 to 3 signings.
Like Gray says, this is why the clubs. Because again, really, we sit here today and we could say who is good enough for Leicester, who isn't good enough for the Premier League, who should be staying, and who should be going. And realistically, you're probably not going to see many people leave on a free. I could see a few of them going out on loan if they're not in Cooper's plans. Under Maresca, again, you probably would say, well, Samari got sent out on loan, Christensen got sent out on loan.
But you'd say these sort of players, but you're saying these sort of players that we sent away are playing higher level than we were.
Yeah, they were.
So this is when now they've been an experienced team playing higher level. Surely you want them back to play in your 11, to play in the Premier League. They've been playing in Champions League football.
Christensen, they got 5th in the Italian league.
Yeah, they got Champions League. Yeah, it's mental.
Was a decent feature in there. I think he started quite a lot of games for them. So, he's a wing back. He's a wing back, and if we play in a wing back system, there you go.
You got your player there. Yeah.
I think we know that. Some of these players like Christensen and Samari are going to come and feature into the team, play different styles of football, and like I said, it's exciting to see what's going to happen. I think going into the season, we're definitely going to have a massive different outcome compared to what if Enzo was in charge. I'm not saying for good or for worse, but I think you are going to see just a different style of football. I think you're going to see some players, even like Daka, who's been here for 4 years, beat them all.
Yeah, I'm going to say one last thing before we finish then, Sam. I heard earlier that we have played against Okoli before.
Yeah.
He came on in the 90th minute in the 2-1 win over Atalanta back in 2019, and he would have been, how old? If he's 22 now, probably about 17, 18.
Yeah,
so he was quite young when he came on against us, and I can't remember anything about him, but in the 90th minute substitution, at least we saw a tiny bit of him before we did sign him now. So I appreciate you all coming in. As always, get your views and comments in on this new signing, Caleb Okoli, and we'll catch you all most likely, if there's no other news, when Fatu gets announced in the next coming hours or days. So appreciate you coming in, and we'll catch you all on the next show. Cheers guys, see you in a bit. This mouse is dumb.
The mouse is what?
The mouse is bugging.
Because it's crap.
Still live, they can hear you.